In House Party 1990, a simple night of music, dancing, and teenage freedom turns into a chaotic celebration that defines hip-hop culture on screen. But the real story begins after the party ends. Some rose to massive Hollywood success, while others faced near-death experiences, devastating illnesses, and heartbreaking downfalls. What really happened after the party ended will completely change how you see them. Let's begin. Christopher Reid as Kid. Christopher Reid was born on April 5, 1964, in the Bronx, New York. At 26 years old, he played Kid, the flashy, high-energy half of Kid and Play in House Party, 1990. His explosive charisma and iconic high-top fade didn't just define the character. They helped turn the entire film into a cultural explosion that captured the spirit of an era where hip-hop was stepping into Hollywood for the very first time. But behind the success, Reid's life was far more unstable than the image he projected on screen. After the peak of House Party, he struggled to maintain the same momentum as the industry moved on, and by the early 2000s, financial pressure began to quietly build. His 2004 marriage to Kimberly Turner started with hope, but over time it became strained by inconsistent income and the emotional weight of fading fame, turning what once felt like stability into a silent battle for balance. Then came a turning point that shocked fans. In 2010, Reid was briefly arrested in Los Angeles over unresolved tax-related issues, a moment that exposed how far his life had drifted from the spotlight he once dominated. Instead of collapsing under it, he slowly rebuilt himself through stand-up comedy and live performances, turning embarrassment into material and survival into performance. As of 2026, Christopher Reid is 62 years old and continues performing stand-up while appearing at House Party reunion events that celebrate his legacy. With an estimated net worth of around $1 million, he now lives a quieter, more grounded life. But the image of Kid remains frozen in time, still representing the golden moment when hip-hop culture first took over the big screen. John Witherspoon as Mr. Strickland. John Witherspoon was born on January 27, 1942, in Detroit, Michigan. At 48 years old, he played Mr. Strickland, the strict and comedic neighbor figure in House Party, 1990. His sharp delivery and explosive comedic timing turned a supporting role into one of the film's most memorable sources of humor, adding a chaotic adult reality contrast to the youthful party energy. His journey toward comedy was shaped by a working-class upbringing in a large family of 11 children. Years spent working factory jobs and navigating everyday hardship gradually pushed him toward stand-up comedy, where his natural timing and personality eventually opened the doors to Hollywood. Recognition came through a series of defining roles that cemented his legacy, especially as Willie Jones in the Friday franchise and as the unforgettable voice of Granddad in the Boondocks. Across decades in entertainment, he became known for his consistency, discipline, and unmatched comedic presence, earning respect from peers and fans alike without ever relying on controversy. John Witherspoon passed away on October 29, 2019, at the age of 77, after suffering a sudden heart attack at his home in Sherman Oaks, California. He left behind an estimated net worth of around $8 million and a lasting legacy in comedy, where his role as Mr. Strickland remains part of a larger body of work that defined an entire era of Black American humor. Christopher Martin as Play. Christopher Martin was born on July 10, 1962, in Queens, New York. At 27 years old, he played Play, the smooth, confident counterpart in House Party, 1990. His chemistry with Kid became the emotional engine of the film, turning a simple comedy into a defining cultural moment that helped launch hip-hop cinema into mainstream Hollywood. But the success didn't protect him from real-life collapse behind the scenes. After the early 90s fame faded, Martin's personal life began to unravel, especially after his marriage to actress Shari Headley in 1993. What began as a high-profile love story quickly turned into a painful separation in 1995, followed by custody battles and legal disputes that dragged his name into headlines for reasons far removed from music or film. Just when things seemed to stabilize, life hit him again from an entirely different direction. In 2005, Martin survived a severe car accident that left him with head injuries and forced a long recovery process. The incident became a psychological turning point, not just healing his body, but forcing him to rethink everything about fame, purpose, and identity. By 2026, Christopher Martin is 63 years old and has stepped away from mainstream celebrity life, focusing instead on teaching, mentoring, and hip-hop education projects. With an estimated net worth of around $500,000, he lives a quieter existence, but the legacy of play remains powerful. A reminder of a time when two young performers accidentally became the face of an entire cultural movement that changed Hollywood forever. Martin Lawrence as Bilal. Martin Lawrence was born on April 16, 1965, in Frankfurt, Germany. At 25 years old, he played Bilal, the wild, awkward DJ with the unforgettable crooked smile in House Party, 1990. Though a supporting character, his explosive comedic timing turned every scene he appeared in into chaos, helping the film gain an unpredictable, street-level energy that made it feel alive and authentic. But behind that rising momentum, Martin's personal life was already under pressure from a childhood shaped by instability. After his parents divorced when he was just 8 years old, his family struggled financially, and his mother worked multiple jobs to raise 6 children. He once dreamed of becoming a boxer, but that dream ended abruptly after a serious eye injury, forcing him into comedy as both survival and escape. In 1996, Martin suffered a severe mental breakdown, reportedly running into traffic in Los Angeles while in a state of psychosis and exhaustion. A few years later, in 1999, he collapsed into a near-fatal medical emergency, slipping into a coma after extreme heat stroke and organ failure, leaving doctors unsure if he would survive. These incidents transformed him completely, pushing him away from chaos and into a quieter, more controlled life. As of 2026, Martin Lawrence is 61 years old and remains one of the most successful figures from the House Party era, with an estimated net worth of around $110 million. He continues to act selectively in major projects like Bad Boys, but lives far more privately now, shaped by survival, recovery, and the shocking moments that nearly ended his life when fame was at its peak. Tisha Campbell as Sydney. Tisha Campbell was born on October 13, 1968, in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. At 22 years old, she played Sydney, the confident, magnetic female lead in House Party, 1990, a character who added both charm and emotional balance to the chaotic world of the film. Her presence helped ground the story, making the party feel not just wild, but human and relatable. Her early life was shaped by constant pressure and responsibility, growing up in Newark, New Jersey, where she began performing and singing at just 5 years old to help support her family. That early exposure to hardship built her discipline, but also placed her into an industry where she would repeatedly have to fight for respect and safety as a young black actress in Hollywood. The most shocking chapter of her career came decades later. In 1997, she filed a lawsuit against her co-star Martin Lawrence, accusing him of harassment and abusive behavior on the set of Martin, which led to her temporary departure from the show. Years later, her personal life collapsed further when her 22-year marriage to Dwayne Martin ended in a highly publicized divorce filled with allegations of financial concealment, emotional abuse, and near-total financial exhaustion, leaving her publicly stating she had almost nothing left. By 2026, Tisha Campbell is 57 years old and continues to work in television and voice acting while managing her long-term battle with sarcoidosis, a chronic inflammatory disease affecting her lungs and immune system. With an estimated net worth of around $500,000, her life today reflects both resilience and survival, as she continues to stand as one of the most recognizable and enduring women from the House Party legacy. A.J. Johnson, as Sharane Adrienne Joy Johnson, was born on January 2nd, 1963, in Orange, New Jersey. At 27 years old, she played Sharane, the warm, grounded love interest in House Party, 1990. Her presence brought emotional balance to the film's chaotic energy, and Sharane became the rare character who gave the story a sense of heart beneath all the comedy and hip-hop rebellion. But behind her calm screen image, her real life was shaped by early tragedy that changed everything. Losing her mother to cancer at a young age left a deep emotional scar, pushing her towards psychology and self-understanding as a way to process grief. That pain eventually became the foundation of her education at Spelman College, where she studied psychology and began shaping the path that would later define her second career. Unlike many Hollywood stories filled with scandal, A.J. Johnson's life took a very different direction, almost like a quiet plot twist of its own. She stepped away from mainstream acting and rebuilt herself as a wellness and life coach, working with celebrities in Hollywood and developing her own television project focused on emotional healing and personal transformation. While others chased fame, she turned inward, transforming pain into purpose. As of 2026, A.J. Johnson is 63 years old and remains active as a wellness expert, life coach, and public speaker. With an estimated net worth of around $5 million, she lives a private but respected life in the entertainment and self-development world, where her legacy as Sharane remains only the beginning of a much deeper journey into healing and self-discovery. Paul Anthony as Stab. Paul Anthony was born on January 21, 1975, in Brooklyn, New York. At 15 years old, he played Stab, one of the intimidating school bullies in House Party, 1990. Though a smaller role, his character added tension and conflict to the film, helping contrast the comedy with real-world street pressure that shaped the story's environment. Off-screen, Paul Anthony's real life was far more complex than his short appearance suggested. Growing up in Brooklyn during a time of intense street violence, he and his brothers turned to music as a way out, eventually forming the legendary R&B/hip-hop group Full Force. What started as survival through sound evolved into a powerful music empire that would go on to produce hits for global superstars like Britney Spears, Backstreet Boys, and Rihanna. Then came a life-changing twist that no one expected. In 2006, Paul Anthony was diagnosed with mantle cell lymphoma, a rare and aggressive form of blood cancer that forced him into years of brutal treatment and uncertainty. His condition became so serious that in 2012, he underwent a life-saving bone marrow transplant from his own brother, a moment that nearly defined the end of his story before he miraculously recovered. As of 2026, Paul Anthony is 51 years old and continues to work in music production and motivational speaking, often sharing his survival story to inspire others. With an estimated net worth of around $1.5 million, he lives a quieter but meaningful life, where his journey from house party to cancer survivor has become a testament to resilience, family, and second chances. Clifton Powell, as Sharane's brother. Clifton Powell was born on March 16, 1956, in Washington, D.C. At 34 years old, he played Sharane's brother, the protective and intimidating older brother of Sharane in House Party, 1990. Though a supporting role, his commanding presence added real tension to the film, grounding its playful comedy with a sense of street seriousness that made the story feel more authentic and emotionally layered. Before Hollywood success, Powell grew up in a tough environment where discipline was often replaced by survival instincts. During his youth, he struggled with direction and nearly drifted into street life, but acting became his unexpected turning point. Through local theater stages, he found structure and identity, slowly transforming from a troubled young man into one of Hollywood's most reliable character actors. His career later exploded far beyond House Party, appearing in over 200 film and television roles, including the cult hit Next Friday, 2000, and the acclaimed biopic Ray, 2004, where his performance earned him a SAG Award nomination and widespread recognition. However, His long career was not without turbulence, including a 2012 legal incident in Louisiana that led to a settlement and briefly cast a shadow over his otherwise respected reputation in Hollywood. As of 2026, Clifton Powell is 70 years old and still active in film and television, with an estimated net worth of around $4 million. Despite controversies and decades in the industry, he remains a steady Hollywood presence, where his role in House Party is remembered as the early spark of a career built on resilience, longevity, and reinvention. Kelly Jo Minter as LaDonna. Kelly Jo Minter was born on July 14, 1966, in Trenton, New Jersey. At 24 years old, she played LaDonna, a close friend of the main group, supporting female character, in House Party, 1990. Her role added youthful charm and emotional texture to the film, helping balance its high-energy comedy with a more grounded sense of everyday life. Long before House Party, Minter had already carved a path in Hollywood's horror scene, appearing in A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child, 1989, and later in Wes Craven's The People Under the Stairs, 1991. But despite her talent, she faced the harsh reality of typecasting, where black actresses were often limited to secondary roles, forcing her to constantly fight for visibility in an industry that rarely gave her leading opportunities. Her personal life also carried emotional weight. In 1992, she married R&B singer JoJo Haley of KSI and JoJo, but their relationship was repeatedly tested by the pressures of fame, addiction struggles, and cycles of rehabilitation. While she avoided personal scandals, the emotional toll of supporting a partner through public battles with substance abuse deeply affected her private life and stability. As of 2026, Kelly Jo Minter is 59 years old and has stepped away from acting, focusing instead on entrepreneurship through design and business projects, including handbag ventures. With an estimated net worth of around $1 million, she lives a quieter life today, where her legacy as LaDonna remains a symbol of a career shaped by talent, resilience, and the unseen emotional cost of surviving Hollywood's golden but unforgiving era. Daryl Mitchell as Chill. Daryl Mitchell was born on July 16, 1965, in the Bronx, New York. At 25 years old, he played Chill, a laid-back friend and supporting member of the crew in House Party, 1990. His relaxed comedic timing and natural street charm helped the film feel more authentic, adding balance to the chaotic party energy and grounding the group dynamic in a believable friendship that audiences could connect with. As his presence in House Party 2, 1991, carried the momentum forward, Mitchell was gradually building a career that blended comedy with grounded everyday realism. His early work in entertainment grew out of a hip-hop-influenced background, but his path soon expanded into television, where roles in The John Larroquette Show and Veronica's Closet revealed a performer capable of adapting far beyond the party film image that first introduced him to audiences. Everything shifted in an instant in November 2001, when Mitchell was involved in a devastating motorcycle accident in South Carolina that left him paralyzed from the waist down. The transition from rising Hollywood actor to permanent wheelchair user became one of the most defining and painful turning points of his life. Yet with the support of his wife Carol Mitchell, he slowly rebuilt his career, returning to acting with the same determination, now performing from a wheelchair on screen. As of 2026, Daryl Mitchell is 60 years old and remains active in television, best known in later years for roles in NCIS New Orleans and Fear the Walking Dead. With an estimated net worth of around $5 million, he has become a symbol of resilience in Hollywood, transforming personal tragedy into inspiration while continuing to represent strength and perseverance in the entertainment industry. BeBe Drake as Mrs. Strickland. BeBe Drake was born on January 29, 1944 in the United States. At 46 years old, she played Mrs. Strickland, the sharp-tongued and strict wife of Mr. Strickland in House Party, 1990. Her comedic authority and strong screen presence helped complete the chaotic household dynamic, turning every scene she appeared in into a humorous clash of discipline and frustration that elevated the film's neighborhood comedy energy. Her career was shaped during an era when opportunities for black actresses were still limited and often confined to supporting character roles. Navigating Hollywood during the Civil Rights era meant constant resilience, and she built her career quietly but steadily through character performances, appearing in films like Boomerang, 1992, and television projects such as The Jamie Foxx Show. Despite working in an unpredictable industry, she maintained a stable personal life by keeping her family away from media attention. Rather than being drawn into Hollywood controversy, she chose privacy and longevity, focusing on her children and gradually stepping back from acting as she grew older, while occasionally returning for nostalgic appearances in black cinema events that honored her generation of performers. As of 2026, BeBe Drake is 82 years old and lives a quiet retirement, with an estimated net worth of around $500,000. She occasionally attends film reunion events, but remains largely private, where her role as Mrs. Strickland stands as a reminder of a generation of character actors who shaped comedy from the background without ever needing the spotlight to leave a lasting impact. Desi Arnez Hines II as Peanut Desi. Arnez Hines II was born on January 21, 1980, in Los Angeles, California. At 10 years old, he played Peanut, the mischievous and quick-witted young neighborhood kid in House Party, 1990. His playful energy added a layer of innocence to the film's street party atmosphere, making him one of the most memorable child characters in the movie's comedic landscape. His early fame came almost instantly after House Party, and it continued when he appeared as young Tree Styles in the critically acclaimed Boys in the Hood, 1991, a role that placed him in one of the most important black cinema films of the decade. But the pressure of being a child actor in Hollywood quickly became overwhelming, as balancing school life and filming schedules created emotional strain during his formative years. As he entered adolescence, the weight of early fame began to shift his perspective on the entertainment industry. Instead of continuing down the uncertain path of Hollywood, he made a quiet but life-changing decision to step away from acting altogether. Choosing stability over visibility, he left the spotlight behind and transitioned into a normal working life, prioritizing privacy and personal peace over fame. As of 2026, Desi Arnez Hines II is 46 years old and lives a completely private life away from the entertainment industry with an estimated net worth of around $300,000. His story remains one of early Hollywood exposure, followed by a deliberate disappearance, where his role as Peanut stands as a brief but unforgettable moment in 90s cinema history. Edith Fields as Principal Edith Fields was born on January 7, 1939, in New York, United States. At 51 years old, she played Principal, the strict and no-nonsense school principal in House Party, 1990. Her commanding presence brought a sense of authority to the school setting, balancing the film's wild humor with a grounded figure of discipline who represented the adult world watching over the chaos. Behind that authoritative screen image, Edith Fields' path to acting was anything but instant. She spent much of her early life working through small theater stages in New York, slowly building her craft away from mainstream attention. It was this long foundation in stage performance that eventually led her into television, where she began appearing steadily in supporting roles throughout the 1980s and 1990s. As she moved deeper into Hollywood television, her career became defined by a very specific type of presence, rather than leading roles. She was often cast as teachers, judges, and strict authority figures in shows like Hangin' with Mr. Cooper and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where her familiar face became part of the background fabric of American sitcom culture. As of 2026, Edith Fields is 87 years old and fully retired, living a quiet life with her family after decades in the industry. With an estimated net worth under $500,000, she now enjoys a peaceful retirement, where her role as principal in House Party stands as a small but lasting reminder of a career built on consistency, dignity, and quiet strength. Robin Harris as Pop. Robin Harris was born on August 30th, 1953 in Chicago, Illinois. At 36 years old, he played Pop, the strict but deeply caring father of Kid in House Party, 1990. His performance brought emotional weight and real-life authority to the film, turning what could have been just comedy into something more grounded, where the father-son tension gave the story its heart and emotional core. As his stand-up career grew across Los Angeles and Chicago comedy clubs, Harris became known for his explosive storytelling style and sharp, no-filter humor that made him a rising force in American comedy. That success eventually led him into film, where House Party became his defining moment on screen, capturing the same raw energy that made him a standout on stage and positioning him for what looked like a major Hollywood breakthrough. But just as everything was beginning to peak, tragedy struck without warning. On March 18, 1990, only days after House Party premiered to major success, Robin Harris died suddenly in his sleep from a heart attack at the Four Seasons Hotel in Chicago, right after a live performance. He was only 36 years old, and at the exact moment his career was reaching Hollywood's highest opportunities, his life ended instantly, leaving the industry in shock. At the time of his passing, his wife Exetta Harris was pregnant with their son, Robin Harris Jr., meaning his child was born into the world without ever meeting his father. His estimated net worth was around $250,000 US, but his legacy was far greater, as House Party became a tribute to a talent gone too soon, later honored through projects like BeBe's Kids, 1992, which preserved his voice and comedy for future generations. So, after revisiting the House Party, 1990 cast in 2026, we see a journey filled with laughter, fame, tragedy, survival, and unforgettable legacy. What once started as a simple college party movie became a cultural moment that still echoes decades later through every cast member's story. Which transformation shocked you the most when looking at their lives in 2026? If you enjoyed this journey through time, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss more cast updates like this.